Hi, everybody. I'm Joan Lok. Thank you for coming to my periodic Zoom chat for the Joan Lok Art Online. And today we do not have a lot of artists joining us, but then what I'm going to talk about today is the how we're going to celebrate our fifth anniversary. But before I do that, I always want to see if I have any tech questions related to Sumi art that you would like to ask. And I believe, Debbie, you have a question?
I do have a question. I'm working on paintings for the Sumi-e competition, and my hang up isn't necessarily the artwork itself. It's mostly subject matter. I don't know exactly what makes Sumi-e Sumi-e. Is it just using ink on rice paper? Is it the brush strokes? Is it the subject matter? Should it be traditional? So, what exactly would be acceptable as Sumi-e? What qualifies as Sumi-e?
Okay, this actually depends a lot on the organizer of that particular show. And just like Watercolor Society, there are societies that are, for example, very specific on transparency. So if you have any opaque paint, not even talk about gouache, with the watercolor is not fully transparent but have opaque pigment, it will be disqualified by a transparent watercolor society. And then the same thing with Sumi-e. If you are joining a competition, so the definition is not as much what is Sumi-e, but what is Sumi-e that is considered. I mean, what artwork is considered Sumi-e according to that particular organizations. And then, of course, there are multiple organizations that focus on Sumi art in the United States, and one that I think a lot of our members of the Sumi Society of America, and I've been president for 10 years. So I do have a little bit of knowledge of what they are looking for and what they are consider kind of outliners or may even be disqualified. Okay. First of all, Sumi, as we know, the word consider of two kanji word, two Chinese characters, water and ink. So first of all, it have to be water soluble medium. We are not talking about things that is oil or like some other things like pastel or things that is not really water medium. Okay, so if the water element is there. The second word is ink. Ink is sumi ink, not alcohol ink, but sumi ink. And of course, sumi ink definition is the one that we grind from the ink stick or bottle ink, but then the nature of it is basically black carbon particles. So it depends on which art associate you are talking about. But then for the Sumi Society of America, the artwork have to have some element of Sumi ink. But then they do have exception on that rule as well. But then basically, in order to be Sumi painting, it have to be water element and also have to have Sumi ink. And when I say Sumi ink, most likely is the Sumi black ink. All right. And then another one that the society considers Sumi artwork is actually the medium is painted on. And or collectively it's called rice paper, but basically it's the mulberry or some other wood fiber paper that is generically called rice paper, not necessarily made of rice. But then what that really means is you are not going to be painting it on, say, for example, canvas or watercolor 140, 300 pound paper. That would disqualify your artwork as Sumi. So it have to be some kind of rice paper. But as I say, that's exception. And of course, different association have different rules. But then for the Sumi Society, for the color exception is actually, for example, like many years ago, we have a Chinese painting master, Diana Khan, who is a disciple, a student of Zhang Daqian. And Zhang Daqian has training in Japan, and he's also world famous for many of his technique, including pomo, which is to pour the ink and color onto the surface. And then the surface that he used is not only paper, but also silk and also what we call gold board, or in the Japanese term called shakishi board. And shakishi board can come with paper surface or a metallic surface, basically we call it gold or silver foil surface. So those are not really 100% rice paper. So gold surface is exception, and other one is silk. We besides paper, we can also paint on silk, which is also a very traditional way of um the traditional painting in Sumi-e. So silk and cloth structured surface is also acceptable. And then another one is ink. When it's come to ink, Zhang Daqian, of course, have ink element, but then when it kind of progressed to Diana Khan has POMO, the pour ink or the pour color methods. Um, there are times that her painting does not have Sumi ink, only watercolor and gouache onto the gold board. And because of her influence and also the kind of like the traditions because these are not things that she invented. These can date back to the Ming Dynasty, the Yuan Dynasty. They also have that kind of pouring of colors and mineral paint. So the exception is with it is a pomo on gold board, color on paper or color on gold board. So the colors can be without ink. And then the surface, of course, as I say, basically is paper and is particularly collectively termed called rice paper. But then exception could be, it could be on a shakishi board. Shakishi board could be gold surface, silver surface, or rice paper surface. Sometimes if you can find it, it could be silk surface. And then painting on silk. So there are exceptions to those, but then ink element, the surface, but then subject matter. I have to say that subject matter is not really the association, but more the judge. Because as we know, artists have their own personality. And there's no right or wrong in art. I mean, you may love Picasso more than Gauguin, or Gauguin more than Van Gogh. But then doesn't mean that, of course, to some people, like one of them is a better artist than the other. But then to the art lover, if I really like Picasso and no one else, or I like Rembrandt and no one else, it doesn't matter what other people are doing. Like I just love Gauguin, or I just like John Sargent, and so it's a very subjective thing. And then when it comes to the judge, whether the judge like portrait or landscape or floral or animals and other subjects, that is really a personal choice. And luckily, like what we wish is when the board of the association selected judges, there's a vending process. So it's not like, oh, let's pick so and so as judge and everybody say, okay, I mean, like there's a vending process that we look at the portfolio of the artists. We look at the education, the CV, the resume, what the person has painted, sample of his or her artwork, the whole collection, and whether the person have, various experience doing judging and things like that to gauge whether it's an appropriate judge for that particular association. And but then, some other association may have different rule, but then for the association that I was president of for 10 years, what we did is after the vending process and things like that, I have to say that we do leave the judgment totally to the juror. So we do not go back and question the juror. Hey, like that's not really a good artwork, right? We do not, because once we pick the judge has the liberty to pick among the entrants which one is accepted and which one get the award. The only exception is because each association have different rules for whatever reasons, and actually many associations have this rule of the recency of the work. Some of them is 2 years, some of them is 3 years, some of them has one way or the other some recency. And there are multiple reasons for it, but one of the reason is we want the artists to be able to continuously create work instead of just sticking into old piles and pull something out. So like I believe the Sumi Society have a 2-year rule. So if you painted something 10 years ago and then you put that out, that would be disqualified because, I mean, when people can prove that, like this is something you painted 10 years ago, or whatever in the internet or something, I found it in your art album, like that was
Right.
5 years old, something like that,
Yeah.
then we can tell that this painting is completed 5 years ago. So
Okay.
that would disqualify the work. And of course, there are other rules of disqualification. Most associations have it. For example, with it has already entered the show, then it cannot be entered again.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But those are actually quite typical of that. But when it comes to subject matter, whether like landscape would win or flower would win, that really depends on the judge. And I do have to say the judges do have their preference. Some judges are more favor landscape more, while others favor flower more, or some even favor portrait more. It really depends on the judge. My personal take is don't paint for the judge, paint your best work to enter.
Sure.
Because you can never predict, like sometimes,
Mm.
like maybe this is a great portrait artist, but then maybe because he or she is such a good portrait artist, portrait have to be at a higher level in order to be accepted because you know what he's looking at. Or
Mm-hmm.
with this is a really uh like gifted flower painter, like the smallest error can be picked up by her. Like I paint flowers. With you paint a flower, but you draw the leaf in the wrong shape. You know, I mean, like even I'm not a botanist because I paint them so frequently that
Uh-huh.
if you submit a piece of work, but then the leaf shape is not the kind
Mm.
that match the flower, I can easily just pick that up. And I have to say that although it may not disqualify you, but then definitely would be very questionable to give it an award because you are awarding error, so
Right.
you don't want that, right?
Okay.
Or for example, since I'm also a flower and bird painter, when I teach bird painting, I also tell people to beware of the habitat. If
Mm.
it is a bird that migrate,
Mm-hmm.
you don't put it in a snow scene because you can't find them. You'll probably be freeze to death
Uh-huh.
because no, it's just a bird that need to migrate.
Right.
Well, some other bird they don't migrate. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they can be year-round, so you can put them in winter scene and it will be fine. But
Mm-hmm.
then you have to understand the habitat of the bird. And like nowadays, with internet, you can easily Google and find out. But like in the olden times, or like I might consider myself old, right? But I have a lot of reference book on bird, not on painting of them, but on the habitat identification, like the Audubon book, the Peterson book, you know, um, the markings of the bird and things like that, I mean, you have to have really in-depth knowledge of your subject matter. So don't make those mistakes especially if you know that the judge is an expert on that. But I personally do not paint for the judge because you never know. Most judges also want to have some diversity in their
Mm-hmm.
awards. So they don't want to be accused of, I only pick landscape.
Right.
And no flower painting would get an award from me. I mean, usually judges doesn't want to be labeled like that.
Uh-huh.
So like even is a very famous landscape artist, he or she may pick a flower as an award because it's a good flower painting. So like with you are good at everything, then of course, paint whatever you want. But then some people are good at painting flowers or painting a landscape or portrait or a cat. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, pick the best work that you have in the last 2 years for the show. Because in a way, it's your best work. You want to see, like, is my best work also appreciated by a third
Mm-hmm.
person? So that would be a good test for yourself as well. When it comes to tradition and innovation, that also depends on the club. Some art clubs are actually focusing on tradition,
Mm-hmm.
while some other clubs, even in their mission statement, focus on the fusion of East and West, old and new, while some other kind of like even in their goal and objective say that we are innovating, we are kind of breaking all the rules. So
Mm-hmm.
it depends on the club. When it comes to the Sumi Society, it's not as much as that, but then I have to say that in the years that we have been giving out awards, the award donor can dictate what the award goes to. Because sometimes when we receive a sponsorship of an award,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a scholarship to a college to sponsor a student. I mean, sometimes they will just give a general donation and say, you know, I give you $10,000, give it to a worthy student. You know, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's like that. But sometimes some scholarship would say that I want to give it to a needy family, or I want to give it to someone who is a veteran or
Mm-hmm.
family of a veteran. And while some is only for architect student or some only for hotel management student because of my experience in earning my wealth in hotel management or finance or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So the stipulation is the same in the award in Sumi Society. Some award has no stipulation, while some award has a stipulation. For example, a very dear friend of mine, Peggy Duke, she is actually a botanical illustrator and a Sumi
Ooh.
artist.
Uh-huh.
And because she is a botanical illustrator by trade, so when she passed away, her family donated money to have an award in honor of Peggy Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, is designated for a floral
Right.
painting. I
Sure.
mean,
Uh-huh.
whoever win the Peggy Duke Award is not going to be a landscape or a cat or a
Right.
portrait. It
Right.
have to be a flower painting. So
Right.
if you are a great flower painter and you get an award, like when the judge is distributing the award, the likelihood that you will get a Peggy Duke Award versus like some other award. And the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, for example, the main child chapter of the Sumi Society
Mm-hmm.
have been giving out award, and then they particularly say that is for innovation in Sumi-e.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of like the giver already said that, it's not for a traditional painting, it's for a painting that is kind of innovative, something that is new. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, what is new, you have to really look at the stipulation as to, like, did they define what is new, or would it be up to the judge interpretation of what is new? And
Sure.
then also traditional, for years, the Bull Heron chapter of the society has been giving out an award for traditional painting, meaning that instead of awarding innovation, they actually want to award tradition. They
Yes.
want to award artwork that are traditional. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think they took that, become a little bit more general because at certain period of time, for a number of years, not only did they say that it's for traditional, but it's for a traditional for gentlemen painting, meaning the subject have to be bamboo, chrysanthemum, orchid, or
Oh,
yeah, I mean the four gentlemen,
the four gen.
because
Mm-hmm.
so it have to be those four subjects because the rationale is that those are the base for good sumie, and it also kind of like open the chances of student artists and but then it's not limiting because you could be an excellent bamboo painter and win the award as well.
Mm-hmm.
So but then the subject matter have to be the four gentlemen. I don't think it's that narrow now. I think it's just traditional now. But then and then they are award for a American landscape, meaning that it's a landscape, but not just a mountain and water and river,
Oh.
but it's actually Colorado
Uh-huh.
or like Miami Beach or
Uh-huh.
something that is American
Okay.
landscape. So those would probably be award driven. So
Sure.
whether your painting is more towards tradition or innovation, I think it will probably award I mean, kind of like would probably affect the award that it may receive. Um, when it comes to the brushwork, whether it's abstract or things like that, it really depends on the judge. Some
Okay.
judges are more traditional, some judges are more, like innovative. And if you look at the show catalog of the society and um, just flip through it year after year, you sometimes would see some really big changes from one year to the other. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on the judge. And usually we have like a 1 page or half page introduction of who the judge is and with and usually the cover is the judge artwork. So you can have a glimpse to, what the judge artwork is and what the judge is looking for. And it depends on years. In the last few years, we have been asking the judge to submit a kind of like a paragraph of what they're looking for and publish it in the um, quarterly
Really?
before the competition. So we know that this judge is looking for composition or this and that, while this judge is looking for personality. I mean, like every judge have a different statement as to how they will judge. And then usually at the end of the show, we will also communicate with the judge and ask the judge to give us some critique of, now that you have seen the entries, now that you have picked the winners, is there any general statement or specific things you want to talk to our members to work more on to, what did we excel, what did we need to strengthen? And so they would have that as well. So depending on what show you are entering, I'll probably say to look at the perspective again, double check to make sure what you are doing will not disqualify you. For example, at one point, although Sumi-e, um, depending on how you look at the history, some collage is allowable, but then actually I'm the one that put it in the perspective because I was not too happy with one time some commercially printed paper cut out of a bamboo actually won an award. I think it's a very nice graphic design. I don't think it's Sumi-e. But of course, as I say, we let the judge pick the selection, but then because of that happening, we actually changed the requirement that if you are doing collage, the collage paper need to be painted by you. It cannot be commercially bought or print from newspaper or commercially available stamps and just like cut into shape and put it in. It have to be painted by you as well. So we have that. But then I know this is recorded, but then what I find out is there are artists who paint flowers and then stick it onto the artwork. Although the flower is also painted by the artist, I think it's actually a collage. I don't think it's brush painting. But of course, the individual has been winning prizes. I'm afraid she may be watching it in YouTube. I mean, like it's not against you, but I think that it's very good work, it's beautiful work, but I don't think it's really Sumi-e. I think it's more a collage artwork and but then I don't know how. I mean, like maybe someone smarter than me can tweak the entry, or maybe they think that that's the direction Sumi-e should go. But I think if we can cut and paste flowers onto a design, we will actually lost the ability because I mean it can be fixed. We lost the ability to actually plan our work carefully and like be more thoughtful when we lay down our brush because I mean I can always paint this flower and I cut it out and put it in here. So like the kind of like certain accents of Sumi-e spontaneity in the artwork.
Exactly what I was
I
thinking.
mean, like it may not be lost now, but then if we continue in that path, it may be lost. I'm really afraid of that, but then that would, I mean, I'm not the board, I'm not just one member of the board, and but that's my opinion. But I hope I answer your questions.
You did.
And
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was
as I say, just put in your best work.
right.
Put in your best work, and if you're interested, like read about the judge and what the judge talk about, what she may be, like looking into when she select her art or what she consider good art. But I have to say that I mean, I will glimpse through it, but then I usually just look at my best work and, like with this is not the direction the judge like, then I won't get an award or I won't be accepted that year.
Yeah.
But there will be other shows.
Yeah, and it's important to keep painting too.
Yeah, and one of my favorite artists who I consider a mentor, Professor Zhang Yiqi. By the way, he recently passed away. I wrote something about him in the upcoming issue of the Sumi-e quarterly. But Zhang Yiqi is not only a famous Sumi-e artist, he is actually a famous internationally renowned watercolor giant, right? And he has repeatedly said this because it's his personal experience. He have artwork, the exact same artwork that enter into a show, did not even get accepted. I mean, don't even talk about an award. Did not even get accepted, just outright rejected, right? And then he believed in the artwork. He thinks it's a good piece of work. He actually bring the artwork into another show, won a really big prize. exact same artwork.
It's so subjective.
So meaning
Uh-huh.
that don't get disappointed. Say, for example, with this piece or this piece, I mean, which
Uh-huh.
I think is like, okay, this is my best work this year. I
Uh-huh.
put it into a show and it didn't get anywhere. Don't worry, right?
Right, right.
Because I mean, this is a personal experience. I last year I painted a person. It was a watercolor. I was on my trip to Europe. And
Mhm,
anyway, one way or the other, it was morning and just like typical tour, we're just walking around the town. And
mhm,
then I saw a guy smoking at the stair outside a bar that is closed because it's the morning. He was just smoking outside the
mhm.
bar and he looks really interesting. So I took
Uh-huh.
a picture of him and I really think this picture is really cool. So I actually painted it into a watercolor.
Uh-huh.
I put it into our local statewide watercolor society show. It did not even get accepted, right?
Oh my
Oh,
God.
like don't even talk about what did not
Yeah.
even get accepted. So I'm like, okay.
Okay.
But I really think it's a good piece of artwork, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I put it into another show, and that one is not a local show. It's actually an international show that open to artists all around because it's an online show, but it's a pretty high level, worldwide famous international show.
Uh-huh.
And that show they actually segregate into like portrait, landscape, flower,
Okay.
animal, abstract, and things like that. So
Right.
I put it into the portrait segment.
Sure.
It won a prize.
Oh my gosh. You never know.
Exact same artwork. I did not even alter anything. But
Uh-huh.
so believe in your artwork. If it's a good piece of work, don't give up on it.
Okay. All right.
And doesn't mean that the judge doesn't know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like my I mean like actually that piece of painting is called Life is Life. Not
Okay.
because not because of the expression of the guy, because the bar has singing groups because they have bands singing at
Yeah.
night in the
Yeah.
nightclub.
Yeah.
And then there was a board about the program of the bar, and
Mm-hmm.
then the performing uh, band is called Life is Life, and it
Oh,
was right
oh,
on the
cool.
chalkboard.
Uh-huh.
So when I painted, I'm like, that's a good title for that
That's a
artwork.
great title. That's
So I mean, and
yeah.
it's a guy who's looking kind of into nothingness and smoking
Mm-hmm.
as if he's like meditating. So
Uh-huh.
it's my artwork called Life is Life. Is didn't get into a show, but won an award in an
Very
international
cool.
one. Yeah,
Very
so I
okay.
hope I answered your question.
You
Okay,
did.
we
Thank
are
you.
coming to the other part of my presentation. I want to ask people about this. Okay, we will be celebrating our fifth anniversary around actually in the fall of this year.
Mhm.
And then every year I will, like select uh, a few workshops to like offer it at a discount. And I usually end it on September 30th. So I'm debating, should I offer it for 2 months, 3 months, or should I order it since June so you guys can get to it earlier?
Oh,
So, but I mean, you know that, I mean, like,
yeah.
because you've been, I usually pick the earlier one
Uh,
because the earlier one are the videos, so they're longer. But then, I might be picking, some of because I mean, even the Zoom are, I started in 2021, I think, or 2022. So some of the earlier one that I have not, covered in the last 2, 3 years,
mhm.
um, I'm I'm thinking of, like that. And do you want me to offer it for 90 days or 120 days?
Oh. Well, 120 is always better.
Okay. So I mean, so
Yeah.
because this is I mean, this is the middle of May, so I will start
Yeah.
offering it in June. So
Okay.
June, July, August, September. So you have
That's
120
great.
days to,
Yeah.
so I mean, like in the very beginning, I offer a coupon, but then
Hmm.
I find out that there are people who, I mean, although it's very easy, they will forget to put in the coupon and, some
And
weird thing happened.
yeah.
And I have to say that my website, I didn't design it. I basically bought the platform and
Right.
whatever they have, I just click that button. So I do not know how to fix it or change it, right?
Uh-huh.
And and because of that, I find out it's easier for me to just reduce the price for the
And
next
then
four
just
months
order.
and then
Sure.
change it back up instead of people like messing with the coupon.
That's a
So
good
I'll
idea.
do that. Okay, that's the first celebration is the
Uh-huh.
reduction of price
Good.
for a selected things. And
Super.
I'll usually pick one landscape related and one flower related. All
Good.
right. So the second one is the special presentation. 2 years ago, because I mean, everybody know that I have a very deep connection with the Ningnan School of Painting.
Mhm.
2 years ago for the third anniversary, I actually did a special presentation for our founders of the Ningnan School, the three founders. We talk about their life and their art, right? And then last year, unfortunately, it was the year that Master Ao Honan passed away, actually
Mhm.
kind of unexpectedly. And
Mhm.
so I decided to actually honor him. And so the presentation was the life and art of Master Ao Honan,
Good.
right? And
Mhm.
this year, I mean, actually I thought of it because I know this year is the 120th birthday of Master Zhao Shao'an, who is like the giant. I mean, besides the three founders, is actually, some people may even think that he's even bigger than the founder. I
Wow.
mean, Master Zhao Shao'an, and this year is his 120th birthday. He was born in 1905. And so we have some really big celebration worldwide about it. So I believe that, it's just fitting for me to do the life and art of Zhao Shao'an and the special
Sure.
presentation. Okay, I mean, the subject I've already said, and I usually do it kind of at the end of, kind of like as a kind of like a kind of like in a concert, like the biggest song is at the very end, right?
Mhm.
So I believe that it will be sometime in September,
Good.
and
Good.
I haven't built a PowerPoint yet, but then
Uh-huh.
I have collected all the information. I'm still collecting them. But then coincidentally, I mean, someone out of the blue actually contacted me through my website, and I have verified it. It's real. It's not a scammer. Because sometimes you never know, right? I
Yeah.
mean, someone who claimed to be someone that knew you 20 years ago is like, really? But he is the grandson of Zhao Shaoan.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's true. He's really the grandson of Zhao
No.
Shaoan,
Yeah.
and he's interested to join us. He's interested to join us.
Uh-huh.
And because it's my live Zoom, and I usually have it at 11 a.m.
Uh-huh.
and they have a 12-hour difference, so it's 11 p.m.
Wow.
his time.
Okay.
I mean, he said that he is willing, but I'm thinking, uh, how about we move to to accommodate him? Um,
Sure.
so do you mind me, because if I do it earlier,
Uh-huh.
I occasionally do have people coming in from California, and then 11 is like 8 in the morning for them. So
Wow.
some of them said that it's too early.
Uh-huh.
So do we want to maybe like move it earlier in, because I mean, I know you and I are in the Eastern time.
Sure.
So do we want to do it maybe like 9 in the morning? I mean, would it be something okay? But
Sure.
9 would be like 6
Thanks
in
for
the
them.
morning for California, but it will be
Uh-huh.
9 p.m. for Hong Kong. Would you like to do it in that morning? Or we'll actually switch and change it to maybe 9 in the PM for our time? So it will be 9 a.m. his time. I mean,
Or
like,
or
what?
8 p.m. our time.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. So,
8 p.m. and
so
then that would be 8 a.m. for him.
yeah, and it will be kind of like early evening for people in the California area. Would
Yeah.
it be something
Yeah.
that you guys want to do?
I think that would be good if we did it evening East Coast time.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's like 11 to midnight, and I mean, because
Uh-huh.
I mean, I just met him, so I don't know his habits.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Maybe he's a night owl, but he might not. You
Yeah.
don't want to be okay. So it's
Yeah.
12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, are you still talking, Joe? I mean, I don't know, but
Uh-huh.
so maybe, okay. So we have some consensus. Maybe for that particular life and art of
Yeah.
Jiao Shaowang, we'll make it kind of 8 p.m. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
work on the time,
Yeah.
fine tune it.
I think
So
we
8
should
p.m. that,
accommodate him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And besides, like
And
maybe whatever
California will.
things that he may not be able to show up, right?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
true. And
But then
California will
I
like.
think, like at least give him the opportunity to join us, because we are talking about
Sure.
his grandfather.
Sure.
And he said that, like his father may not join us, but then
Uh-huh.
Joshua Ong's son, who is 90 years old, because we think
Wow.
about it, 120, when you have a son
Yeah.
at 30, I mean, it's 90, right?
Yeah.
So it's I mean, he said that even his father may want to join us.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
I don't know, but
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe we'll do it like in the evening. Okay,
I
so
think that would be smartest. Yeah.
yeah, okay, so
Okay.
I have the consensus of my artists,
There you
right?
go. This is like a podcast. You realize that?
Well,
You and me.
but the thing is, I have to say that if you don't raise your hand, you can't really, like complain that, like we pick something that you don't like, right?
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I gave you all the opportunities to join.
This is
Okay,
right.
so the now we're coming to the end of this,
Uh-huh.
and do we want something else? Because I talk about it in the first anniversary. In the first anniversary, we actually have everyone bought a piece of artwork, and then we just kind of showcase it. And then
Mhm.
at that time, we also talk about maybe we can have an internet show of our artwork, or when we don't have an internet show, maybe because I have my own, like artist website, and I have to say that, I'm paying the hosting fee anyway.
Mhm.
And I think that I still have a lot of memory space in it.
Uh-huh.
So I can easily just crop out a few pages, and that could be a student exhibition space. So would you guys be interested to have a student show? Because in the very beginning, people are learning, but then like
Uh-huh.
we are celebrating our 5th anniversary. People who have followed me for a number of years, like hopefully you should be able to paint,
Yeah,
like
sure.
at a certain level. So
Sure.
maybe one or two
Sure.
artwork per student, and then
Uh-huh.
we can have a kind of like a showcase of the work, and we can
Sure.
talk more about whether we want it to be permanent, meaning that we just showcase it,
Uh-huh.
or we can have it kind of like a limited show. For example, for 8 weeks, or for like certain number of months, then
Mm-hmm.
this will be showcased. Because I do understand that like because of social media, people are into Instagram, Facebook, and whatever to show their work. People don't even have website anymore. I mean, a lot of artists, new artists, doesn't even establish their website anymore.
Wow.
But the thing is, I mean, I have my website.
Uh-huh.
I have to say that I have no, I mean, because if I take it down, I may not rebuild it again. So I'll
Yeah.
just leave it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that this is especially good for artists who do not have their own website, but
Right.
maybe want to showcase one or two pieces of
Okay.
their work,
Sure.
and you can like it's not as much to advertise for yourself, but then maybe you want to tell your friends and relatives that like my artwork is online, you can go see it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a few, I mean, because I was thinking not one, but maybe two or three,
Okay.
so of the same artist, and put
Sure.
them together. And
Okay.
I'm not sure whether it's per page per artist, or like two, three artists per page. So because I mean I don't know how many people will be joining,
Okay.
and things like that. But do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's worth
Sure.
pursuing?
Sure. Yeah, I think that needs a little bit of thought, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think
but
it's an
but
idea.
maybe I can write out the requirement, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to say that probably I mean, like, for me, it will be free to artists who have taken my workshop. I mean, of
Mm-hmm.
course, you cannot be someone that, from the middle of nowhere and want to, carve out
Mm-hmm.
space in my, because I mean, we need to have a reason and connection. So
Mm-hmm.
so we have to be someone who have taken my online workshop. But then uh like that probably would be the only stipulation. You do not have to be, I must have received X number of award, or must have a education of X, Y, and Z in
Uh-huh.
order to, I mean, like I do not look at that as a qualification. So that would be it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that probably would be what we will I mean I will work on. So I'll have 120 days for the reduced anniversary courses. I will start working on the Art and Life of Joshua presentation, and most likely would be switch time to an evening to accommodate the grandson of Zhao Xiao'an.
Okay.
And then also, like I'll look into a online, because the online one could be ongoing, doesn't have to be anniversary related. Yeah,
Okay.
but I can write out some requirement and expectation, and see how responsive it is.
Okay.
Because I have to say that we've only have like, three, four artists responding, maybe it's not worth
Uh-huh.
the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
But
another thing is, I want to know if people still want me to do this periodic thing because I'm
Uh-huh.
getting fewer and fewer
Yeah.
um live audience. Although I know that some of you will watch it on YouTube, which I
Mhm.
don't want to kind of like, oh, if you don't join, I'm not going to tell you what we talk about.
Uh,
I still want to like keep that presence, but then
okay.
like with this is not something that people are interested. I want to rethink then what do you guys want and things like that. So
All righty.
um so I will be closing unless you have
Okay.
other questions.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. And so before that, I just want to let you know that the I have um morning glory this afternoon, and then next month I will have I think is Acelia. I actually taught Acelia 2 years ago, but I have a request to have a live workshop again. So I do that because Acelia is outrageously beautiful and it will be blooming. Actually, it's blooming somewhere.
It's
If I'm in Maryland, it's probably blooming right
mhm,
now. So,
mhm.
so it's an outrageously beautiful flower. We are going to discuss the Ningnan style of painting Asteria. So it will be Asteria next, I mean, the Saturday of June. And then I also will be doing a different landscape workshop. We just talk about innovation and also black ink. If you have been following my Sumi-e landscape, you will know that I'm actually very traditional. I follow the 5 steps of contour, texture stroke, rubbing, dots, and wash. But
Mhm.
then I'm going to talk about the Zen landscape, the Japanese style Zen landscape inspired by Zen Buddhism, and particularly in the style of Tyson Sasaki, a master Sumi artist. So we are talking about very simple composition, but I will do a deep dive into the design, composition, and also the wisdom behind it. So it's more like a composition and design for a simplified landscape for the next landscape in June. And then July, I will have um, the landscape would be focusing on boat. I have also talked about boat maybe around 2 years ago on how to paint the boat. But
Mhm.
then this time we'll do a refresher on painting the boat in the first half hour, but then the rest of it, we will actually be doing at least 2 demo and we'll be talking about how to use boat to actually direct eye movement and
Mm,
also exaggerate the dimension of the artwork. Because when you think about the perspective of Chinese landscape, we talk about things that is horizontally, the width, vertically, the height, and also kind of like go into the painting, the depth. And both can actually extend the width and the depth of a painting.
mm,
Not as much height because height is usually land and
mhm,
both are on river.
mhm,
So
mhm.
not as much on height, but then I'll talk about how to use both on that. So this is a
Good.
kind of also more a design, but we'll also do a refresher on both. And that would be July. And then July would also have grapes. I haven't taught grapes in the last 3 years, but I think it's a good refresher if you have not done that. And we will focus on the loading of the brush and also the composition of how to put the grapes together. Because everyone know how to do circles, but
Mhm,
how to put the circles together to make it look realistic that is hanging from a vine.
mhm.
And also the how to catch the light and how to load the brush to kind of like to do the 3D look on the grapes together. So it's also kind of like an advanced um elevated level of grapes. But then that would be the upcoming June and July workshop. And I hope to see many of you in the workshop. And
Huh?
thank you for joining me.
Thanks,
And
Joan. All right.
I will be, also recapping what we decided and wrote out some of the things that we talked about. So thank you for joining me.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.